this Rev May. Welcome to Omega Times. Hope that all's going well for you and yours. We're doing good here. God's good to me. If you have an opportunity, would you please hit the button on the bottom right-hand side, a little red one, and subscribe. If you would give me a thumbs up and make a comment. It costs nothing. It takes 10 or 15 seconds, and it will help me get this pushed out to other people. Thank you so much for your time. We're going to get right into it here. We're going to talk about marriage. It takes work. Marriage, it takes work. You know, there are a lot of things. If you want to be a hairdresser, you have to take a test to get your license. If you want to be a doctor, they have to take a test and they have to apply for a license. In most states, not all, if you want to carry a weapon, and you, especially if you want to carry it from a different state, you're going on vacation or whatever, well, you have to go down and take a test, and you have to get fingerprinted and all that before you can get a license. All right, but anybody can get a license to get married. It requires nothing. Just two people get married. They don't know if they're compatible or not. Not everybody's that way, but I've married a lot of couples, well over 100. Let's just put it that way, well over 100. Don't know how many, but you know, at least I would say on the low end, 100 to almost 200 or thereabout. Doesn't matter, but you get my idea. I've been involved in a lot of weddings. I've also sang for a lot of weddings. Besides preaching, before I started preaching, I had a lot of people ask me to sing at their wedding. And so I'm very familiar. I even had one guy I was in the wedding with, and he told one of the guys that was in the wedding, he had like 4 guys with him. I don't know, the women are called bridesmaids. I guess they're groomsmen. You'd think as many weddings I go to, I would be used to that. But he looked real funny, and one of the guys asked him, what's the problem? He said, if I want to go out the back door so bad and run out of here and just take off. So the best man told him, that's what you need to do. And he said, but all those people are sitting out there, and it's, you know, if I don't, her family, and it's blah, 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 and I do care for her, but, man, I really don't want to do this. I've heard that more than once when I was in weddings. Now, when I ever asked, does anyone object to this wedding? Speak now, forever hold your peace. I've never had one of the people I was marrying say, you know, no, I got second thoughts, I want it back. But I'm just saying that things like that do happen, and the Lord wants marriage. It takes some work. You have to work at being married, and it's some give and take, whether people like it or not. And I've been married for 44 years, and I love my wife. And I can tell you that marriage has fat times, lean times, good times, bad times, up times, down times, times when you're all well, times when somebody's sick. It's just part of life, and you have to work through all of it. Ecclesiastes 9:9 says, enjoy life with a woman whom you love all the days of your fleeing life, which he has given you under the sun. For this is your reward in life, and in your toil in which you have labored under the sun. Your reward in life is your wife, and God gave her to you, and you should love her, cherish her, and want what's best for her. All right? I wouldn't do anything to make my wife uncomfortable. I wouldn't do anything to harm her or make her feel bad. And so we need to realize that marriage takes some work. You have to work at it. I've had a great wife for 44 years. I'll just tell you real quick, maybe that some of the ladies will think it's romantic. Maybe some of the guys will think it's goofy. I don't know. But I wasn't looking to get married. I was 27 years old. I was single. I had 5 or 6 guys that were real close friends. And when I get paid on Friday, I'd run home, take a shower, get into some clean clothes. Depending on what time of the year it was, we went and played miniature golf. We went to the batting cages. We used to rent movies, take them back to one of the guys' places, watch movies after we went out to supper. We went out every Friday night, all of us, and went out to eat. You know, we usually went to a Ponderosa Steakhouse or something like that. And we went to places that had smorgasbords. and we were young. We could eat a lot. We enjoyed it, and I enjoyed my life. My wife was single, and she enjoyed being single. All right? So neither one of us were looking to get married. That was the furthest thing from my mind. I knew that someday I might meet the right woman. Did I date? Sure I did. Because I played, sang, was involved in church, and I'd been preaching for, I don't know, four years or five, something like that. I went to a lot of different churches, and I dated numerous times, but I never fell in love with any of them, so to speak, to get married. But I went to a gospel singing. I was invited to go to it in Arnold, Missouri, and I went out there with 3 or 4 of my buddies, and we knew they were going to serve food after, and we thought, well, we can go to the gospel singing. We know some of the people there. We can eat us something, and then we'll go back to my buddy's place and watch a movie or whatever. That's what was on the agenda. When we got there, they had like 2 or 3 groups. I think they had 3. I don't remember, a lot of years ago. But we all sat down, and we were enjoying the gospel singing. The first group was really good. I knew a couple of people in the group. And then when the second group came up, she walked onto the platform, and I couldn't take my eyes off of her. I was like smitten. Now, I never believed this. All right, I thought it was only in movies where you fall into love with someone that you've never met. You see them, but you haven't even talked to them. You don't even know what age they are. You don't even know their name. I thought that was, the stuff they did in movies. Don't happen in real life. When she walked up there, I fell in love with her. I couldn't take my eyes off of her. And when the service was getting ready to end, they got done with the other group. The pastor announced that if some volunteer men, young men, there was a lot of young guys there, they said if you could go down to the kitchen, help them set up chairs. We've got a lot more people than we normally serve when we have a church dinner. We could use somebody to help set up tables and chairs. A couple of the guys I was with mentioned how good she was looking, how good she looked. One of them said, I'd sure like to get her number. And so I told the guys when they were getting ready to pray to end the service, I said, look, we need to go down to the kitchen, set the tables up and chairs and help them out. If they know us here, we know a lot of people go here. We ought to go down there. So as soon as the service ended, I told the guys, head on down to the kitchen. I'll be right with you. I need to run real quick and do one thing. I'll be right down. I ran right up, introduced myself to her, shook her hand, asked her name, told her who I was, talked to her for a couple of minutes, and then I said, is it all right if I get your phone number? I'd like to take you out. And she looked at me and did one of these. I think that'd be okay. So she opened her purse and got out and gave me her name and number. I thanked her, and I went down there, and one of the guys mentioned, I'm going to ask that one girl out. And I said, yeah, good luck with that. He goes, what? I said, I already asked her out. I got her name and number. What? I said, yep. And I held up the piece of paper, but I kept my thumb over the phone number, most of the number, and waved it in front of him, put it back in my pocket. Well, the next weekend, we went out on a date. And I took her out to eat. We went for a ride. I don't remember what all we did, but we sat in front of her house for 3 or 4 hours talking in the car. And I told her, I said, look, I'm not going to pull no strings. I've never felt this way about any girl in my life. But I said, I'm in love with you. I want to marry you. If it takes me a month, if it takes me a year, if it takes me 2 years, I'm going to win you over. 3 months later, we were married. And we've been married for 44 years. Love at first sight. Never thought it was real. Thought it was Hollywood. I always laughed at it, but it happened to me. So, but I looked at, like the Bible says, when you find a good wife, you've got a good thing. And that's exactly what I got. I got a good wife. I got a good thing. And I love her today. And I always tell her we always talk about that song. I always tell her, I love you more today than yesterday, but not as much as tomorrow. I sing that song to her a lot, Also sing, You Are So Beautiful to Me. Not as good as Joe Crocker, but I sing it to her. And then I also sing her a song, I've got sunshine on a cloudy day. When it's cold outside, you got Randy May. I guess you say, what can make me feel this way? My girl, talking about my girl. Ooh. And I sing that song to her. The Temptations sang that. And I've sang that to her since the second date we went out, I sang her a song. And she said she loved it, but I've sang songs to her entire marriage. Why? Because I love her. Marriage requires some work and some investment. So we need to realize that when you've been married for 44 years, you probably know a little bit about marriage. That doesn't mean I'm perfect, doesn't mean I know everything, but I'm telling you, marriage requires work. We should remember the wedding vows. A lot of people forget, for better, for worse, in sickness and in health. I had a guy I knew, I real liked him. We were friends. Not close friends, but good friends. That don't make sense, but that's an oxymoron. But we were friends, but not where I didn't run out with him around like on Friday night like I did my other buddies. But we were friends. And he'd been married like 9 or 10 years, and his wife got a bad diagnosis. I don't remember what was wrong with her, but they said that she probably wouldn't live more than another year or two. She had some kind of real bad problem. And we're talking back in the early 70s. And one day he told me, he said, I left, whatever his wife's name was, I don't want to say, but we'll call her Susie. I left Susie and I'm getting a divorce. I said, my God, what's going on? He said, I didn't sign up for this. She's sick. She's going to keep going down and deteriorating. And I'm going to have to take her to the doctor all the time. She's going to be hospitalized multiple times. I didn't sign up for this. I don't want to do this anymore. I said, well, your wedding vow said for better, for worse, in sickness and in health. All right? She's sick. She needs you more than she ever did. He said, I can't do it. He walked away from her. All right? So he really didn't love her like he should. If you love your spouse like you should, you will not abandon them if they get sick. You will not abandon them. I had a young lady I went to school with my entire life, and we're still friends today on Facebook. And her husband became ill and was ill for several years, had a health problem, and she stayed with him, good, bad, up, down. She was at his side. She loved him and cared for him and took care of him, and stayed with him until he took his last breath. And so, she was still a wonderful person, and she really was faithful to her vows. For better, for worse, in sickness and in health. You need to think that through before you get married. If you can't do those things, then you shouldn't do it. And I had another guy, it was a casual friend of mine. I knew him and he knew me. We were in a store. His grandmother went to our church. But that's about it. We went to the same high school, but he was 2 years ahead of me. Captain of the football team. King of the school. We had 2,500 students. He was a king, and his girlfriend was a queen. And he was just a great guy. He got hurt in Vietnam. Landmine. And they didn't cut any of his limbs off, but he had leg braces in both legs, had a metal plate in his head, had scar down his face and up here. And he came back, and he was in the hospital for a long time in St. Louis, the military hospital. And he got married like 3 or 4 months before they went to Vietnam. And a couple of months after he was home, his wife left him. And she said the same thing. I didn't sign up for this. I'm young. I don't want to be married to a cripple. I don't want to take care of him the rest of my life. And so she left him. I don't know what happened after that with her, but that's what she did. I'm telling you, think your vows through, for better, for worse, in sickness and in health. You have to realize that eventually sickness will hit. Eventually you're going to have some health issues. Hopefully it'll be in your 70s and 80s and not in your 20s and 30s and 40s, but things do happen. And when you marry them, you're not marrying them to bail out on them when they're sick. Let me take a drink of my Dr. Pepper. Love that. They're not paying me. Just love Dr. Pepper. Sorry. And so it takes a lot of work to build a marriage. and you need to work together, and you need to reach your goals together, and the two become one. If your wife's hurt, you're hurt. If she's happy, you're happy. If she's sad, you're sad. Rejoice with them that rejoice, weep with them that weep. Always stand by your spouse and be for them, because God intended that way. Marriage has good times and bad times. Like I told you, it's up and down. It's good sometimes, and sometimes it's hard, but you have to work at it. The good always outweighs the rough times. And you face things together in life, and you solve them together in life. When we got ready to buy a home, I sat down with Deb and said, honey, I love you. We need to get a better home with a yard for our kids. We need to move out of the inner city and try to put a life together somewhere else. That's what I feel. She said, I do too. I said, well, where would you like us to look for work, and where would you like us to live? What is your thoughts? And she told me. Then I told her mine. And we talked and everything else. We eventually wound up moving to the place we wanted to be, made a life. Our kids were still small, except for our oldest daughter. She was, a lot older, but the other two. And so we made a life, and we moved. But we did it together. It was a joint decision. You're the head of the household, and it's your job to protect your family and take care of them. It's also your job to realize that your wife is part of that marriage, and the two become one, and you want to honor your wife, and you want to be good to her. And this is the woman that the Lord has given you. Enjoy the life with a woman who you love all the days of your life. This is what the Bible says, which he has given you under the sun. For this is your reward in life, and in your toil in which you have labored under the sun. God gave you a good wife, or God gave you a good husband, so work at being marriage. Debbie had to do a lot of work on me to help get some of the rough edges ground off. The man who finds a good wife has a good thing. So I want you to understand that my wife and I, we work at our marriage. We're not perfect. I'm not the best person in the world, nor is my wife the best woman in the world. Not trying to put us off as that. We're not a perfect people. But we know how to sit down and talk things out and decide how we want to handle this. How do we want to go about this? We got a child that's handicapped. We have to make a lot of decisions. We make them together. We do things and we consult with each other because we love each other. I'm telling you, if you're not married and you're thinking about getting married, you're young or you're in your 40s or 50s, remember, marriage is wonderful, and God said finding a woman that you love is a good thing, but also it requires some work. You have to work at it. God loves you. I love you. Hope you're doing great. And let me tell you one other thing. I do have some friends that are single and never got married because they didn't want to get married, but they still have a good life. So if you're one of those people, I'm not saying you have to get married. I'm just saying if you choose to marry your wife, take a wife, or if a wife wants to get married and wants a guy, pray and ask God to give you the right person. And I really do think, and I've always believed this, we weren't looking, neither one of us were looking to get married. Debbie enjoyed being in that singing group. She enjoyed working her job. She was very smart, graduated high school with an honor roll, and she became an underwriter with an insurance company. And she really had a good life, and so did I. But we met and we fell in love. All right? If you're out actively seeking and trying to find somebody, to me it's a little harder than if you just come to the right person. Oh, one last thing. People do fall in love when they don't even know her name. I fell in love with a woman. I didn't know her name, didn't know her age, didn't know nothing about her. Couldn't take my eyes off her. Like I said, I was smitten. It does happen. I thought it was only in the movies, but it happens in real life. Thank you for your time this time. Till next time, old Rev May signing off. You have a wonderful day.